Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Mom.
and this is another first episode Friday.
It sure is. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, and Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing fine, Brandon. How are you doing?
All is well here.
That is so great. Are you ready to talk about today's episode, Brandon?
Yes, I am, Mom. And what is it?
We're going to talk about Leave It to Beaver.
Yes, I'm very excited to speak about this series. And Mom, are you able to give us the synopsis for this first episode, How to Beaver Get Spelled?
I sure will. Beaver's teacher, and this is Miss Canfield, asked him to take a note home to his parents. This scares Beaver because his friends are saying all sorts of things about what could be in this note. So Wally and Beaver decide to prepare a response back to the school without reading the note first. And that's what happens on this episode of The Beaver.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
Yeah, and before I ask you your thoughts, I did want to say, so for anyone who is not familiar with this classic show, are you able to give them a brief rundown as to what the show's about?
Yep, this show is about a family of four, and specifically, it's really about the two sons in the family, Wally and the Beaver. Specifically, the Beaver. Beaver is the youngest, and he's the mischievous child, and so we kind of see the antics of them growing up.
Yeah, and Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And what were your thoughts about the series premiere?
Well, I absolutely love this series premiere. It is probably one of my favorite premieres, and I laugh every time I watch it. So, absolutely love it.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy it as well. I've seen this episode a few times, but I will say that this time around, I feel like I saw more than I've normally seen in my viewings of it.
Yes, I sure did too. I guess one of the things that you and I both said at the same time is we didn't realize that it started off with a reflection for the first episode. And that's something that we've seen on Still the Beaver when we watched it, and also with the new Leave It to Beaver. We see that they occasionally begin with that. And so, especially with the first episode of Still the Beaver, we saw that they did have this little retrospective reflection type of beginning that kind of explained the series. And so it was so nice to see it in the first episode of Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah, it really was, and I felt Ward doing it was just so appropriate, and yeah, and had I known this, and maybe it got cut down for syndication, and maybe that's why we haven't seen it before, but I'm so glad that we're able to see it, and I thought it really introduced the show well.
Yep, it sure did.
Yeah, and overall, what do you think about the premise of it? I mean, I personally love watching the antics of Beaver and Wally, especially in their younger years.
Oh yeah, Brandon, I do really, really enjoy watching the Beaver. I really do. And so, I've seen it throughout my childhood, in reruns. But yes, I've seen it throughout my childhood. My mother absolutely loves the show also. And so it is just a very pleasant, nice show to watch. And it's a very family friendly show, which, I always like.
Yeah, and I like that this first episode is able to introduce us to some recurring characters as well that we see throughout the series. For instance, Wally's friend Eddie Haskell, or friendish.
Yes. Yes, I think it's every parent's worst nightmare. But yes, Eddie Haskell. And then we have Larry also, who is one of Beaver's close friends.
Yeah, alongside the teacher, Miss Canfield.
Yes, Miss Canfield, I will say they do a nice job of giving the teacher on this particular show quite a bit of storylines, and there's several teachers that kind of grow with Beaver as he's on the show.
Yeah, and what would you say makes this episode stand out as opposed to some other episodes of both this series and of other series? I mean, we've spoken about shows throughout the decades, but what makes Beaver Get Spelled stand out to you?
I know. I just like I shouldn't say antics. I guess it's the innocence part about Beaver. He really is just innocent about things that he does, and everything he does, it just seems like it comes, of course, it seems to get out of control really quickly, but he's got a natural way of doing it. And then I like the brotherly bond between Wally and Beaver, and I like the way they kind of protect each other too. And just Ward's reaction, or actually June's reaction to the boys, I think is, I just think they do a good job of just kind of showing this very family atmosphere.
Yeah, and I really like the way that his parents interact too, and that it's not like just Ward doing it or just June doing it. That they're working together to to raise them, which I think stands out. And even in terms of trying to uh, discipline, so to speak, Beaver, when in this episode he climbs up a tree and can't get down, that it's June that's able to tell Ward. It's like let's just say that we're going to leave him and don't be too harsh. It's some of those small things I think really stand out. Even though June is a stay-at-home mom, you can tell that she's truly involved with the lives of her children.
Yep, you can.
And mom, I know that we oftentimes said that we love it whenever TV seasons can have the right amount of episodes. I know in present day, it typically had been 22, but back for Leave It to Beaver, each season had 39 episodes.
That is incredible. That's incredible. I'm so tired of watching reruns on TV. So it is very nice to know that at some point in time in history that there were a lot of episodes of TV shows coming on.
Absolutely, and yeah, I mean, it had 6 full seasons for overall 234 episodes.
Wow, and that's incredible. And I can say, I think I have seen every one of those episodes.
Well, that's great. Would you say that you have a favorite episode?
Well, yeah, I like this one, and there's a Christmas episode that I like also. I might have to use that one for the Christmas series that we do. But yes, but there are several episodes that I really enjoyed. Those and this episode and the Christmas one are two of the ones that I really like.
Well, Mom, that's really great to hear. And of course, we have one big connection for the series.
Oh, what is that, Brandon?
Yeah, so almost 30 years after the show, we had first Still the Beaver and then the new Leave It to Beaver revival series.
Yes, and we've talked about Still the Beaver on here, and so the audience knows I watched that while I was overseas, and I really enjoyed watching Still the Beaver. Also, I love the connection between the two series, and I like how they kind of kept the show still wholesome, and but they did progress the series along, and so I did like that.
Yeah, and over the past couple of years, as we've been watching numerous episodes of the revival series that can be found on YouTube, it's been really enjoyable being able to see how the characters have grown up, and and so going back to the original series now, it's interesting because I'm able to see some of those more thematic connections between the two series.
Yep, you really can. You can, and they refer indirectly to back to the original series. Also, if you're familiar enough, they'll kind of talk about something that happened at a previous time period.
Yeah, they definitely do. And I will say for the audience that while this is the series premiere, that this is not the pilot episode though.
Oh, tell us about the pilot episode, Brandon.
Yeah, so while this series began October of 1957, a pilot episode was put out in April of that year, and so it was largely considered lost to history. They aired it once, and then just the archive disappeared, and so that one is titled "It's a Small World." It had largely a different cast outside of Beaver and his mom June, but but I've seen portions of that episode, but I've never seen the full episode. Have you seen the full one?
I am pretty sure I've seen the full episode. So yeah, so I'm pretty sure I have.
Well, that's great. And they didn't actually even find the pilot episode until the new Leave It to Beaver was on, which it aired as its, I believe, third season premiere in 1987.
Yes, yes. And I know that's not when I saw it, or maybe I, Brandon, I don't know when I saw it, but but I do. But I know I have seen the episode. Yeah.
Well, we'll say they aired again in 2007.
Okay, maybe that's when I saw it, but I have seen the episode.
But yeah, and so it's great being able to see like the different variations of of the show, and just overall, I think that Leave It to Beaver definitely has a special place in American sitcom history, and I think it really was a groundbreaker for its time, and even now.
Yeah, I think so too. I really do. Really do. And let us know, is Beaver one of the shows that you like? And I will say that we did, as you know, I do like to rate the series 1 through 5, 5 being the highest. For this particular episode, I would give it a 5. I thought I kind of hit all the marks.
And Mom, I fully agree with you.
All right. Well, Brant, anything else that you want to talk about with Beaver?
Well, I just want to say too that one of the reasons as to why it's groundbreaking is that it is one of the first shows to not necessarily feature a family, but rather focus on it from the viewpoint of a child.
Yeah. And you could tell that they do that.
But yeah, and I will say I really love the antics and the bond between Beaver and Wally, and especially in even some of these first scenes with their whole bath that they were told to take.
Yes. Yeah. And so, if you have not seen this episode, go ahead and take a look. It is a fun episode to watch.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I definitely highly recommend it.
Yes. And so we thank everybody for watching today.
And we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
We'll see you soon.
Bye bye.